Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling a topic that feels a bit counterintuitive, maybe even unsettling.
Yeah, it's this idea of how conflict, how crisis, really, despite being so destructive,
Right.
somehow ends up pushing technology forward, sometimes incredibly fast.
It's a tough thing to square, I guess. But looking back, it seems like a historical pattern, doesn't it? So many breakthroughs didn't come from calm labs, but, well, from chaos.
Exactly. And that's what we want to unpack in this deep dive. How does this actually happen? We'll look at World War II, the Cold War, and bring it right up to the war in Ukraine, which is happening now.
So the mission is exploring how that urgency, that sheer need, just slices through the usual delays.
Pretty much how it drives invention, but also, and this is important, acknowledging the very real cost involved.
Okay, let's unpack this then. World War II seems like the obvious starting point.
Definitely.
I mean, picture the early 1940s, global conflict.
Yeah.
But behind the scenes, you've got engineers, scientists, just working flat out. What really stands out from that time?
Well, it's the sheer speed. When survival is literally on the line, things move differently.
Like what specifically?
Okay, so radar. It went from, bulky experimental stuff to genuinely useful systems in months, not years. Changed everything in the air and at sea.
Wow.
And jet engines, too. From theory to flight. Penicillin, knowing it worked, was one thing, but scaling up mass production, that happened under wartime pressure.
Right. Logistics and scale.
Yeah, and even the absolute earliest ideas behind modern computing got a massive push during the war. Code breaking, calculations.
And you can't talk about WWII tech without mentioning the Manhattan Project. Obviously, huge ethical questions there, but purely from an innovation standpoint.
Whoa, absolutely. Forget the ethics for just a second. The physics, the materials science needed, the understanding of nuclear energy. It was groundbreaking. Leaps forward.
So what's the core mechanism? Why does war accelerate things so much? Is it just money?
Money's part of it, sure, but it's more fundamental. It's like
All right.
all the normal brakes come off.
Who need breaks?
The bureaucracy, the endless committees, the safety reviews, the long-term economic planning. In peacetime, that stuff is necessary.
Right. Usually.
But in war, there's no time. If something might work, if it gives you an edge now, you try it, you deploy it. The usual processes get bypassed because the immediate threat overrides everything else.
So the normal risk assessment just gets flipped.
Completely flipped. Survival becomes the only metric that really matters, which is a dangerous way to innovate, but incredibly effective in the short term.
That makes sense. It's not just about having the idea, but about the system allowing it to happen quickly.
Exactly. Peacetime is sort of optimized for careful, incremental progress. War forces these massive, high-risk jumps.
Which brings us neatly to the Cold War, right?
Right.
Because that wasn't a hot war in the same way, but the pressure was immense.
Oh, totally. The rivalry between the U.S. and the USSR. It was ideological, geopolitical, but it fueled innovation like crazy.
Billions poured into research.
Billions. And think about what came out of it. The space race, obviously. Satellites, GPS started as a military project.
Right. I always forget GPS was military first.
And the internet, ARPANET.
Yeah.
The whole idea was to build a communication network that could survive a nuclear attack. Decentralized, resilient.
That's foundational to how the web works today.
Absolutely. So that Cold War tension, that constant competition, it compressed R&D timelines massively.
There's that saying, necessity is the mother of invention.
Yeah, but maybe it's also the accelerator of adoption.
How so?
Well, think about something recent, like COVID. Suddenly, everyone had to adopt remote work tech, like Zoom or telehealth. The tech mostly existed, but the crisis forced widespread, rapid adoption.
Okay, yeah.
Now, imagine that level of urgency, but instead of a pandemic, it's, bombs falling.
Right. Changes the calculation entirely.
It warps timelines. Things that might have taken decades get pushed through in years or even months. The pressure is just immense.
Okay, so let's fast forward. This is where it gets really interesting, I think. Ukraine, 2022 onwards.
Yeah, it's stark.
Because it's not just tanks and soldiers anymore, is it?
Right.
It feels like the first major digital war in many ways. Cyber attacks, drones everywhere, AI surveillance, even things like Starlink playing a role.
It really is like a living laboratory for 21st century warfare. And what's fascinating is how much consumer tech or tech from private companies is being integrated.
Right, not just governments developing secret weapons.
Exactly. We saw Ukrainian coders, for instance, taking AI facial recognition tools and adapting them super quickly.
Ow, like using them on the battlefield.
Yeah, training algorithms on the fly with battlefield data, putting tools onto mobile apps for soldiers or intelligence officers to use almost instantly. That's not how this usually works.
No, that sounds incredibly fast. What else?
Hobbyist drones, cheap, off-the-shelf drones being modified with explosives or better cameras, turning toys into precision weapons, essentially.
Yeah.
And then there's OSINT, open source intelligence, regular people using TikTok videos, commercial satellite images.
The track troop movements.
Yep. Crowdsourcing intelligence gathering on a massive scale.
And you mentioned Starlink, Elon Musk's company.
Yeah, that was huge. When Ukraine's traditional communication networks were attacked or destroyed, Starlink terminals provided a secure, reliable backup, almost overnight.
So a private company basically provided critical military infrastructure.
Pretty much. Which, raises all sorts of new questions about who the actors are in modern conflict. It's not just nation-states anymore.
It's this strange twist, isn't it? Technology designed or rapidly adapted for war then finds its way into our everyday lives.
It's a really common pattern, this dual-use technology. The battlefield becomes this extreme testing ground.
Pushing tech to be more robust, more efficient.
Exactly. Optimize it for the worst conditions imaginable, and sometimes what comes out is surprisingly useful back home. It's this weird feedback loop. War tech becomes life tech.
Okay, give us some clear examples.
Well, drones are the obvious one. Military surveillance and strikes. Now they're used in farming, filming, delivering packages.
Right.
That facial recognition AI we talked about, it's the basis for unlocking your smartphone, for security cameras, even for monitoring traffic flow. And think about wearable health tech, Fitbit, Apple Watch. A lot of the sensors and algorithms evolved from trying to monitor soldiers' vital signs remotely on the battlefield. Heart rate, stress levels, that kind of thing.
So stuff we use every day has these hidden military origins.
Often, yeah. Things you wouldn't even think about.
But this speed, this bypassing of norms, it must raise some serious ethical flags. Right?
Oh, absolutely. That's the really difficult part.
Because innovation in a crisis often means skipping the usual consent, the debates.
Exactly. The process gets short-circuited. And you end up with really tough questions, like the ones in our sources. Should we be using facial recognition on prisoners of war? Can we trust an AI to make a targeting decision? What happens if that autonomous drone makes a mistake?
The lines just get incredibly blurry.
They really do. Between defense and offense, human control and machine autonomy, even civilian and combatant. And the tech often develops faster than our ability to create ethical frameworks for it.
It forces us to confront these dilemmas in real time.
Yeah, while the tech is already being deployed, it's unsettling.
So we land on the central paradox then. War is destruction, obviously, lives lost, cities ruined.
Undeniably.
But it also creates tools. It tears things down, but builds digital infrastructure. It kills, but sometimes leads to tech that cures. Why does this paradox exist?
I think it comes back to that urgency we talked about. Urgency removes friction.
Friction like
bureaucracy, budget constraints for anything deemed non-essential, debates about long-term implications. War creates this singular focus. Win or survive.
And that unlocks resources.
Massively. Governments suddenly fund moonshot ideas they'd never touch in peacetime. Tech startups working on relevant stuff get fast-tracked, get funding overnight. Policies change in days, not years. It's a complete shift in national priorities.
And we're seeing this influence AI development right now.
Definitely. AI for detecting deep fakes, for running battlefield simulations, for optimizing logistics. The military applications are pushing the field forward in specific directions.
Which makes you wonder about the true cost, right? Not just money, but the ethical trade-offs, the societal impact.
Exactly. What are we prioritizing? What are we potentially sacrificing in this race?
So bringing this back to you, the listener, what's the takeaway here? Is it just a depressing cycle?
Well, I think the key thing is that crisis reveals potential. It shows what we can achieve when we're truly motivated, when the barriers come down.
But we don't need a war to be motivated, surely.
We shouldn't need one. That's the challenge, isn't it? Just imagine if we tackled climate change with the same all-hands-on-deck urgency that nations mobilize for war.
Or public health crises.
Oh.
Or education reform.
Precisely. What if declaring peace had the same commitment, the same resources, the same willingness to overcome obstacles?
Because every crisis is also a window, you're saying?
It's a chance to see things differently, to rethink how we do things, maybe even rebuild better. Innovation can happen without destruction driving it. History just shows us. Well, that it often doesn't. And maybe that's something we need to change.
A powerful thought. Well, that wraps up our deep dive on innovation born from crisis. Hopefully, it's given you some food for thought about technology, its origins, and maybe its future. Certainly shows our brilliance, but maybe our blind spots too.
And maybe leave you with this question to ponder. If we could harness that incredible acceleration we see under pressure, but channel it for good,
Right.
what global problem would you declare an urgent war on? What breakthrough could we unlock if we really committed, but crucially, without paying that terrible human cost?